August 28, 1944, 2:17 a.m. Northern France. The moon hangs low over a field of shattered wheat, its pale light glinting off broken farm tools and the twisted frame of an abandoned German Kübelwagen. In the distance, the muffled thunder of artillery fades into the night. For a moment, everything is still. Then, a vibration. Faint at first, like someone drumming fingers on a wooden table. Moments later, the earth itself begins to hum. Obergefreiter Karl Weber, hiding in the shadow of a collapsed barn, presses his ear against the cold dirt. He frowns. This isn't tanks. Tanks have rhythm. This is a swarm. An endless, rolling swarm. He signals his Patrol 5 exhausted German scouts who have spent 2 days tracking the movements of the unstoppable American advance. Their orders from Corps Command were simple. Find out how Patton is moving so fast. Because no one, not even the most optimistic American generals, believed an army could outrun its own supplies. Yet Patton's Third Army was doing exactly that. Weber raises a field scope and peers toward the distant road cutting across the countryside. A moment later, his breath catches in his throat. Headlights. Hundreds of them. A river of lights flowing like fireflies across the French landscape. But the strangest thing, they never stop. No halts, no breaks, no pauses to reorganize. Just motion, an unbroken chain of vehicles sliding across the night like some mechanical organism that refuses to sleep. Weber whispers, "Unglitch." Das ist unglitch. Impossible. From his vantage point, it looks as if the Americans have thousands of trucks, an entire motorized division's worth. Enough vehicles to supply 3 armies, not one. Enough to explain why Patton's tanks keep appearing on roads the Germans believed were cut off hours earlier. And yet, German intelligence reported nothing like this. Where were they hiding this fleet? How could the Allies produce so many vehicles so quickly? And why did they move in darkness without slowing? A truck whips past, then another, faces flickering in the headlights. Young men gripping steering wheels with hands wrapped in tape and cloth. Some wear helmets. Others wear nothing but sweat-soaked bandanas. They look exhausted, glass-eyed, running on adrenaline and cold rations. One detail leaps out. Many of the drivers are African-American troops. Men the German army rarely countered on the front lines and had almost no information about. Yet here they are, commanding the most vital artery of the Allied advance, driving through the night with a focus that borders on the supernatural. The convoy roars past like a storm. The trucks carry fuel drums, ammunition crates, ration boxes, spare parts, and medical supplies. Everything Patton's armor needs to keep moving and to keep crushing the German retreat. Weber notes the markings RBX. He circles it in his notebook. Back at headquarters, his report will sound absurd, a logistical apparition, a phantom highway of machines. Some German officers will laugh. Others will shake their heads. But one word will echo through the bunker rooms and radio channels of the crumbling Western Front: ghost trucks. Because what Weber has just witnessed should be impossible. And yet, it's happening every night, across hundreds of miles, feeding an army that refuses to slow down. As the last truck passes and the dust settles, Weber lowers his scope. He feels something strange, a tightening in his chest. Not fear, not confusion, realization. If this is real, if the Americans can keep this pace, then Germany is no longer fighting soldiers. They're fighting an industrial juggernaut on wheels. And tonight was only a glimpse. But what Weber doesn't know, what no German scout could possibly understand, is that the miracle is even stranger than it looks. Because the Americans don't have thousands of trucks, they barely have enough. So how are they doing this? How do you keep an army alive when the army is moving faster than its supplies? A question the Allies are about to answer with one of the most audacious logistical operations in military history. Hours earlier, 6:40 p.m., Normandy staging area. Engines cough awake, one by one, spitting black exhaust into the warm evening air. Mechanics shout over the roar, thumping the sides of olive-drab GMC. CCKW trucks, the Dusseldorf workhorses of the U.S. Army. The smell of gasoline, rubber, and hot metal fills the clearing like a fog. Corporal Robert Red Harrison, age 21, wipes grease from his face with a rag already too dirty to help. He hasn't slept in almost 30 hours. Most of the drivers haven't. But no one complains. Not tonight. A sergeant walks past, barking the only rule that matters. Keep the trucks rolling. No stops. No excuses. This is the Red Ball Express, the lifeline of Patton's Third Army. A gamble so desperate and daring that even Eisenhower wasn't sure it would work. And yet, here it is, a monster built on wheels, fueled by adrenaline, grit, and men who know the fate of an entire front rests on their shoulders. One driver slaps the side of his cab and laughs wearily. "Ghost trucks," he says. Word is spreading. German scouts think the Americans have endless vehicles. Or Red snorts. If only they knew. We don't have enough trucks to fill their imagination. We just don't stop running. He climbs into the cab beside Private Jesse Coleman, one of the thousands of African American soldiers who make up nearly 75% of the Red Ball drivers. The Army won't let these men serve on the front lines. But right now, they are the front line. Without them, Patton's tanks die on the road. Coleman shifts into gear, his hands trembling slightly from exhaustion. "You ready?" he asks. Red nods. "You think the Krauts can hear us coming?" Coleman smiles and taps the wheel. They can hear the whole United States coming. The convoy pulls out. Headlights dim to slits, engines rumbling like a battalion of caged animals. As they merge onto the designated supply route, a one-way no-stop corridor stretching from Normandy to the spearhead of the American advance, Red looks ahead. The road doesn't end. It disappears into the night, swallowed by its own momentum. And this is the genius of the system, a rotating, endless chain. Trucks never park. Drivers barely rest. Loads shift like assembly line parts, and every completed run feeds the next. To a German scout, the effect is uncanny. Vehicles passing every few seconds, mile after mile, hour after hour. But inside the machine, it's chaos held together by pure willpower. At Checkpoint Delta, a military police corporal waves the trucks through without ceremony. No paperwork, no questions, no hesitation. On the Red Ball Express, the rulebook is simple. Anything that slows you down is the enemy. Drivers eat while driving. They smoke while driving. Some even sleep while driving, heads leaning against the glass, trusting the man next to them to nudge them awake when danger appears. Coleman keeps his eyes locked forward, barely blinking. "We ain't supposed to be heroes," he mutters. "So why does it feel like we are?" Red doesn't answer. He's too busy watching the darkness ahead, the same darkness German scouts stare into with disbelief. A sign whips past in the headlights. Red Ball Route, Priority 1. Behind them, another convoy is already forming, and another behind that, and another. The rhythm of the war has changed. No longer measured in battles, but in miles driven, gallons delivered, engines that refuse to rest. Yet even now, as the night deepens and the convoy gains speed, a new threat lurks ahead, one that could cripple the entire operation in a single strike. Because the Red Ball Express is fast, but it is vulnerable. And someone out there knows it. August 29, 1944. 3:51 a.m., the outskirts of Argentan. The night is thick with fog, the kind that clings to the ground and swallows sound. The convoy slows as the trucks nose into a narrow stretch of road flanked by hedgerows. Coleman grips the wheel tighter. Red senses it too. Something is wrong. No birds. No wind. Just the low growl of engines pushing through the mist. Up ahead, A military police jeep sits sideways across the road. Its headlights are off. Two MPs stand beside it, silhouettes barely visible. One raises a hand to halt the convoy. Coleman mutters, "We ain't supposed to stop. Ever." Red leans forward. Maybe they rerouted us, but the second MP shifts the movement too stiff, too precise. And then Red sees it. The helmets aren't American. They're German. His breath freezes. Before he can shout a warning, the hedgerows erupt. MG-42s scream to life, their fire slicing through the fog like lightning bright. Staccato flashes that turn the night into a strobe of terror. Bullets rip through the first trucks, punching holes through cabin doors, shattering windshields, tearing canvas apart. The convoy jerks, panics, but doesn't stop. It can't stop. Coleman slams his foot down, the truck roaring forward. Red braces himself as they tear past the jeep, and in a split second, the headlights catch the faces of the imposter MPs. He sees the truth. They're Waffen-SS reconnaissance troops. Behind them, the unmistakable silhouette of a Panzerfaust rises into view. "Down!" Red shouts. The explosion rocks the night, a fireball engulfing the truck behind them, flipping it into the ditch like a toy. Men scream. Tires screech. The convoy begins to snake wildly, trucks swerving to avoid the burning wreck. Coleman doesn't slow. He can't. The rule of the Red Ball Express is carved into his spine. Stopping means dying. And dying means Patton's tanks starve. Gunfire rakes the side of their truck, punching holes through the metal panels. Red ducks, feeling hot shards of steel, whip past his face. Coleman keeps the truck steady, eyes locked forward with an almost frightening calm. "You good?" Red shouts. Coleman nods, jaw clenched. "I ain't letting the Army say we lost this run." 2 trucks ahead, a driver loses control and skids sideways, blocking half the road. The German machine guns swing toward the choke point, ready to shred anything caught behind it. "Ram it!" Red shouts. Coleman doesn't hesitate. The truck slams into the crippled vehicle. Wood splinters, metal groans, and the entire frame shudders as they muscle the wreck just enough for the convoy to squeeze through. More trucks follow, scraping paint, tearing mirrors off, roaring past embers and gunfire. Behind them, a second explosion lights the fog, a fuel trailer hit by a German rocket. The blast sends a shockwave across the hedgerow, knocking branches loose, turning them into flaming shrapnel. The convoy leaderboard shouts over the radio, "Keep moving! Break through! Break through!" Coleman pushes harder, the engines screaming in protest as they finally clear the fog-shrouded kill zone and burst into open fields. The gunfire fades behind them, swallowed by night. Red exhales only when the road straightens and the headlights fall on the next checkpoint. A real MP post this time. American flags hanging limp in the still air. They made it. Barely. But the cost. 8 trucks lost. A dozen men unaccounted for. And fuel, precious fuel, burning in the dark behind them. The MP lieutenant waves them through, face pale. "You boys rolled straight through hell." Red leans out the window. "Happens again, sir. You ain't getting supplies by morning." The lieutenant blinks, surprised at the boldness. But then he nods. Because he knows the truth. Without these trucks, the whole advance dies. As Coleman shifts gears and the convoy rebuilds its rhythm, Red stares back toward the distant flames. The Germans had tried to sever the artery tonight. They failed. But they wouldn't stop trying. And the men of the Red Ball Express, exhausted, overworked, racing the clock every minute of every night, were about to face an even greater threat. One that wouldn't come from ambushes or gunfire, but from the limits of the human body itself. August 30th, 1944, 5:12 a.m., somewhere west of Chartres. The horizon is a thin, pale line of dawn. A cold mist clings to the farmland, drifting lazily across the road. The convoy has eased back into its relentless rhythm, engines humming in a tired chorus. But inside the cab of Truck 47, the battle has shifted. Coleman's eyelids fight him with every blink. Not fear this time. Not German ambushes. Just raw, crushing exhaustion. The kind that turns thoughts into static and seconds into drifting shadows. Red watches him closely. "You need a minute," he asks. Coleman shakes his head, though his hands tremble on the wheel. "If I stop, I won't start again." Not a figure of speech, a literal truth. Many Red Ball drivers learn the hard way that a 5-minute rest could turn into an hour of unconsciousness, and stopping on the route, forbidden, deadly. Red grabs a ration tin, pops it open, and pushes a chocolate bar into Coleman's hand. "Eat, it's not much. But sometimes a little sugar keeps the world from fading out entirely." Coleman chews slowly, staring down the endless gray ribbon of road. "You ever think," he murmurs, "that it ain't right how much depends on us, nobody's?" Red doesn't answer immediately. He knows exactly what Coleman means. These men, most of them African-American soldiers relegated to service units by segregation policy, had been told they never see real action, never make a real difference. Yet here they are, holding an entire army together, with nothing but rattling engines and sheer will. "You're not nobody," Red finally says. "Patton can't move an inch without you. A T, and he knows it." Coleman gives a tired smile. "Hell of a thing, ain't it?" The truck hits a pothole, jarring them both upright. The road is getting worse. Overused, undermaintained, pounded day and night by thousands of tires. Every jolt shakes the drivers further awake or further into delirium. A truck behind them drifts too close to the edge. Red watches in the mirror as it sways, corrects, sways again. The driver is falling asleep. "Damn it," Red mutters. He leans out his window, waving frantically. Hey, wake up." But the driver doesn't hear. His head dips again. Coleman slams the horn. Once, twice. The blaring echo rips through the morning stillness, enough to jolt the drifting driver awake. The truck jerks violently back onto the road, tires spitting dirt. Close, too close. Coleman shakes his head. "We're gonna lose more trucks to sleep than the Germans." He's not wrong. In the first weeks of the Red Ball Express, fatigue caused more casualties than ambushes, mines, or mechanical failures. Some drivers hallucinated shapes on the road. Others swore they saw animals or children darting between the trucks. The human body has limits. Tonight, those limits are cracking. Red checks his watch. 8 hours until their next rotation. 8 hours of fighting not the enemy, but their own biology. Another sign flashes past. No stopping. Nitrogen monoxide returning. Nitrogen monoxide passing. Coleman smirks dryly. They forgot nitrogen monoxide. Sleeping, the sun finally breaks the horizon, sending streaks of gold across the sky. For a moment, the warmth touches their faces, cutting through the fatigue. Ahead, the convoy crests a small hill, and the sight steals their breath. Dozens, no, hundreds of trucks. A metal river stretching farther than they can see. It looks surreal, almost impossible. Exactly the thing that drives German intelligence officers mad. From high above, it would look like America had conjured an entire motorized legion out of thin air. Ghost trucks. Red whispers, "If I saw that from the other side, I'd think we were unstoppable." Coleman nods slowly. "So long as we keep standing." But the truth is harsher. Engines are overheating. Drivers are collapsing at checkpoints. Tires are shredding faster than they can be replaced. The machine is straining, and everyone inside it can feel the tension rising. Then the radio crackles. A frantic voice breaks through the static. "All units, be advised, Third Army has accelerated advance toward the Seine. Fuel demand increased by 30%. A pause. Command says we must maintain continuous flow. No brakes. Repeat, no brakes." Coleman stares ahead, jaw tight. "We're already at the edge," he whispers. Red feels the weight settle in his chest. The Germans aren't the only ones who think this is impossible. And yet, impossibility is exactly what they must deliver, because Patton is moving again, and if his tanks outrun their fuel, the entire Allied advance collapses, a truth that hangs over every driver like a shadow. And soon, the men of the Red Ball Express will be pushed into the most dangerous stretch of the route, a place the drivers call Dead Man's Alley. August 31st, 1944. 10:03 p.m. The approach to Mortain. The wind changes as the convoy moves south, carrying with it the thick, metallic scent of spent artillery and scorched earth. Somewhere beyond the rolling hills, German forces, desperate, cornered, an increasingly unpredictable probe for weaknesses in the Allied lines. And on this narrow stretch of road, the Red Ball Express must pass dangerously close to territory the enemy still haunts at night. Drivers call it Dead Man's Alley, a name earned the hard way. Coleman shifts uneasily in his seat. "I hate this stretch," he mutters. Red nods. It's not the road condition, though the cratered pavement is a nightmare. It's the stories. Trucks vanishing in the fog. Convoys ambushed at point-blank range. Mortar fire that appears without warning, then disappears just as fast. Rumors of German stragglers dressed as farmers or monks slipping through fields by moonlight. Whether true or exaggerated, every driver feels the same pressure when entering this corridor. Survive the next 6 miles. Then breathe again. The convoy slows as they descend into a valley shrouded in darkness. The moon hasn't risen yet, and the only light comes from hooded blackout lamps, faint slits, barely bright enough to see the bumper ahead. Coleman grips the wheel tighter. Red rests his hand on the dashboard, steadying himself as the truck jolts over a shell crater. A voice crackles on the radio. "Convoy leader to all trucks, keep interval tight. No gaps. If we bunch up, we die together. If we space out, we die alone." Coleman exhales sharply. Comforting fellow, ain't he? Tay. They push on. The valley walls rise around them, steep and close. Perfect terrain for ambush. The convoy enters single-file formation. No room to maneuver. Every rattle of the chassis, every echo in the dark, feels like a warning. A sudden flash erupts on a distant ridge. Coleman flinches, but it's only lightning. A storm is crawling across the horizon, silently lighting the clouds like a giant's heartbeat. Red leans out the window, scanning the ridge with anxious eyes. "You see anything?" Coleman asks. "Just shadows." He pauses. But that doesn't mean nothing's there. The convoy presses deeper into the valley. Thunder rolls faintly behind them. A whisper for now, but growing. Wind sweeps down the slopes, carrying with it the far-off rumble of artillery. But whose? Half a mile in, a solitary farmhouse comes into view. Or what's left of one, its roof collapsed, one wall blown apart. In the shattered window frame, a curtain sways gently. Coleman tenses. "Tell me that's just the wind." Red squints. The curtain twitches again. He sucks in a breath. "No, that's someone." Before they can react, the radio erupts with a frantic call. Contact left. Movement in the tree line. Coleman slams the accelerator. The truck lunges forward. Gunfire cracks from the shadows, single shots at first. Then a ragged volley. Bullets snap overhead, ricocheting off the truck behind them. The convoy barrels ahead, engines screaming, wheels bouncing violently over torn pavement. Red shouts, "Don't stop. Whatever happens, don't stop." Tracers streak across the air, not many, but enough to sow panic. This isn't an organized attack. It's harassment fire, a desperate attempt to disrupt the lifeline supplying the very tanks pushing German forces back. One truck ahead veers wildly, a tire shredded by a burst of gunfire. The driver fights the wheel, trying to keep the vehicle straight, but the road is too narrow. The truck rolls, crashing onto its side and sliding across the pavement, sparks shooting into the dark. Coleman swerves hard, missing the wreck by inches. Red grabs the door handle to keep himself from being thrown sideways. Behind them, a second truck can't react in time. It clips the wreck and skids, blocking half the road. The convoy fractures, some drivers brake. Others swerve. Chaos. All while unseen shooters fire from the dark. Damn it, keep going. Red yells. Coleman grits his teeth and pushes through, the truck bouncing violently as the storm finally unleashes its first drops of rain. Thunder booms overhead. The wind becomes a howl. The gunfire fades, swallowed by the storm. They burst out of the valley just as rain sheets down across the convoy. Coleman slows only when they reach an open stretch of road, wide, safe, free from ambush. For a long moment, neither man speaks. Then Coleman whispers, "We lost trucks back there." Red nods, and supplies. And drivers. Coleman stares ahead, eyes heavy but burning with defiance. "We can't keep doing this," he says softly. But they will, because they must. Behind them, the broken valley smolders under distant lightning, a reminder that the Red Ball Express is not a miracle. It is a sacrifice. And soon, command will demand a pace no one believes is possible, a pace that will push drivers, trucks, and the entire operation past the breaking point.